In this world, there's no room for an easy way out. Over here, if you want fame, glory, then you're gonna have to work for it. Or make a deal with the devil. A popular saying goes that the lion doesn't birth the mouse, but Bojji's father, the giant. King Bojji birthed something. Actually, I made that phrase up, but you know what I mean. Bojji is known for little things, but the most outstanding are his shortcomings. Height did him dirty, y'all. He's the definition of below average. He doesn't have to bend down to tie his shoes. He looks like he crawls out of the Smurfs movie. One good side about Bojji is that he's a prince. Notice how I didn't say Prince Charming? Yeah, you should get it by now. The least attributes he needs to be a charming prince are not present in his features. Let's not even talk about the hopeless hairline. And then we have this crown he's always wearing. I can bet on Elizabeth's life that this crown is made with cardboard paper. And then we have Kage. He's from an infinite bloodline of assassins that have been cursed with altered bodies. The Shadow Clan. One more shortcoming about Bojji? He's a deaf kid who can't talk or speak. I have a theory that Kage communicates with Bojji through telepathy and sometimes has to do most of the talking for Bojji in the presence of other humans. Kage travels in Bojji's backpack. The duo completes the journey of a clueless midget and his deformed travel buddy. Now they're not just the brainless and directionless duo of Dora and her pet monkey. They're on a mission. Bojji is the first son of the legendary giant and strongest man in the world, King Bojji. But sadly, Bojji looks nothing like his father. Due to Bojji's shortcoming, a vote of power is made to strip him of his birthright so his stepbrother, Prince Dayada, is made king. As a result, Bojji requests to take another journey so that he gains experience and becomes the mightiest man in the world. Presently, Bojji finds himself in a hot, steamy volcano after being pushed into it. Would it be wrong to say that blood is down to earth? So much for going on an adventure. Actually, this was an attempt on his life, which he had no idea how he survived. Not sure he lost consciousness or was playing dead, but I'm pretty sure it's stupendously hot in there to even take a nap. Time and time again, he watches the flames of the volcano escape in fiery outbursts. For one thing, he pretty much has no clue how he survived that fall. After a flashback, he realizes that he survived through a mountain climbing hook that got stuck to a cliff in the volcano. Pretty sure Dora never went on an adventure like this. But this is no adventure though, it's a death sentence. Bojji watches his motionless backpack, scared that he has lost Kage forever. Of course, if the creature was in it, it would have made a move, right? Just then, Kage reveals himself like they were playing a game of hide and seek. I don't know why the midget explodes in tears at this, but he pretty much cries throughout this scene. Oh, along with the slime from his nose. Even Kage is unimpressed. Kage has to be the one to console Bojji. He reminds them that they're big boys, and big boys don't cry, unless their longtime crush rejects their feelings with ew. I strongly doubt they could pull any though. That aside, these two are innocent buddies that have experienced the harsh parts of the world, and I sort of feel sorry for them. Soon it becomes a crying competition between them. After all their fuss trying to be big boys, Kage recounts all the times he saved Bojji since their encounter. Actually, turning the logic around, it was more of how many times Bojji had gotten in danger since their encounter. To sum shit up, Kage tells Bojji that his life is in jeopardy. No adventure skills, no survival skills, no discernment. Last time, Bojji was nearly fed poisoned meat if Kage had not intervened. For their escape, Kage informs Bojji that they'll go to the depths of the volcano, the underworld. Not because they're looking to die or anything. Kage reveals that they're going to visit someone who will turn weak-ass Bojji into mighty Bojji. Meanwhile, there's an evil scheme on the rise in Bojji's kingdom. Of course, there's always an evil scheme. We got to see Prince Dayada, who is Bojji's half-brother. Yeah, he's the definition of evil in its minute form, and he's most definitely not escaping the midget allegations. It is revealed that Dayada had given orders for Bojji's annihilation to Domas, who happens to be Bojji's teacher at the palace. Doma's belief is simple. He thinks Bojji is unfit for the throne and succumbs to Dayada's wish. Yeah, the midget might be unfit, but does that justify throwing him into a fire-breathing volcano, Domas? Anyway, Domas pretty much regrets turning Bojji into a roasted barbecue chicken. However, his evil deed is signed, done, and closed. Furthermore, one good thing I'll applaud Kage for is his smartness. If they had ascended the volcano, they would have met Domas again, but Kage chose to go downward. Although going downward doesn't mean the duo are completely out of danger, soon they run into an area filled with skeleton remains which gives off signs of a lurking predator. And the next thing that happens, the boys find themselves running from a smoke screen, but are unable to get away because of Bojji's shortcomings, his short princess legs. One thing about villains, they don't act on their own. There's got to be something backing their evil asses up. For Daida, it is revealed that he is being influenced by a relic, a magic mirror that speaks to him. This magic mirror leads him to a secret vault once owned by his father, King Bojji. What lurks in this vault are all sorts of crazy relics and monsters. But the most disastrous of all is King Bojji's body, which was kept frozen after his death. The next thing that happens is truly horrific. Daida watches his father's remains ground to mush and something similar to deceased juice. Ugh. Permit me to take you through this process carefully. The deceased juice, which contains the late king's marrow, is placed in a circular ball and is left to absorb lots of sunlight. An egg is produced at the end of the light absorption. The egg immediately hatches and grows into a wild bird instantly. The bird's head is cut off, and its blood is drained into a wine cup as an elixir. Meanwhile, the bird's body is burnt to ashes to create the Jewel of Resurrection. During the last part of the process, the Jewel of Resurrection is inserted in the elixir and is given to Daida to drink. According to the mirror, drinking the elixir will give him equal powers with Bojji. For someone who wants to attain power, Daida is pretty reluctant. He even goes as far as offering the first drink to the mirror's minions. Best believe that this mirror is one cunning and tricky one. It's a feminine voice, alright. She goes on and on about how Daida always wanted to attain power and increase his number among the ranking of kings. She assures him that the power he's about to taste is inestimable. That aside, the elixir only works on those who carry King Bojji's blood in their veins. After all that garbage talk about power, it turns out Daida is harder to break than I thought. He refuses to drink the elixir, which in return invokes the mirror's wrath. Her minions also fail to apprehend Daida, who has a conviction to rank first place with his raw talent and skill. Meanwhile, Bojji is revealed to have been saved from the smoke screen by some guy wearing golden knight armor. Turns out Kage was right about someone living below the volcano. Now, this is the good part, the best part actually. Turns out the gas used on them early is a cursed gas, but it didn't kill them because both of them are cursed already. That aside, they identify one of them as a giant whose powers have been taken while the other is from the Shadow Clan, but in an altered form. As crazy as this will sound, some people care about Bojji's well-being. Hokuro goes head-to-head against Domas for turning Bojji into barbecue. In the end, Hokuro collapses in the fight while Domas loses his hand. Have you ever been in a situation where you seek help from someone, but instead they go ahead to laugh at your situation? That's exactly what Desha does to Bojji. Aside from Desha's obvious mental problem and his ugly-ass looks, he seems to be the ruler of the underworld. I mean, he's literally sitting on the throne. Would also recommend that he visit the dentist. He somehow skips his tanked physical appearance and their requests, just to have more good laughs at Bojji's situation. He also points out the fact that Bojji is good for nothing. Therefore, he can't make a good-for-nothing become the mightiest man in the world. To make things more interesting, Desha reveals himself as one of Bojji's sons. Hold on, how come all of Bojji's sons look like they crawled out of The Conjuring? Bojji was a handsome man, for crying out loud. His baby mamas have got a lot of explanation to do. To say the least, Bojji seems to be the finest. So back to the story, Desha wishes to see what Bojji is capable of before making his decision, but then he does something that annoys the bacteria in my stomach. Bojji's dueling partner is revealed to be the golden armor guy, who turns out to be the captain of the Order of the Underground. Kage is very familiar with their stories, tenacious and strong enough to bring down the whole country. Their mission is to hunt and destroy whatever monster escapes the underworld. Now imagine someone like that being tied to an opponent like Bojji. Thankfully, the armored guy isn't that ruthless. Everyone is aware of how mighty Bojji was when he was alive. This offspring has to have something, he thought. Sadly, he's disappointed with Bojji's first strike, and every other strike, which turns out to be like a piece of cake. This also has Kage shaking in his form. Despa's reaction? He's obviously bored to death. Turns out all Bojji has as Base's son is conviction. Desha is on the verge of turning them away when Kage announces that Bojji is incredibly good at dodging attacks. Let's check that theory. Once again, the knight feels pity for Bojji and decides to hit slowly. To his awe, Bojji dodges it swiftly. Furthermore, Bojji continuously dodges every attack that comes his way till the knight honors his skill and gives up. Guess who isn't impressed by the display? Of course, it's Desha again. He immediately announces that he can't make Bojji mighty. Moreover, he declines Bojji's impressive skill and rips Bojji's recommendation letter. One thing about guards and knights, they most definitely have the best tea. After the boys are thrown out, Bojji breaks down at his inability to pick up even a rock, while Kage consoles him like his mama. Luckily, that's not the end. The knight returns the recommendation letter and also reveals that they visited the wrong place, which is why Desha was acting like a dick all along. The man they're actually looking for is Prince Despa, who happens to be the King Desha's younger brother. For Desha to act the way he did to the boys, he is revealed to be envious of his little brother's achievements and wisdom. I, for one, wish Despa looks better than his bag of expired chips. With that, the knight bids the boys farewell and wishes Bojji the best in his training. Meanwhile, back to Daida, the angry bird. The mirror remains shocked at his refusal and how he egotistically turned down the unimaginable power given to him. Turns out that Daida was driven by sheer jealousy, the jealousy to meet up with Bojji's pace, whom everyone had termed useless. In a quick flashback, we get to see when Daida's dislike for his brother began. From stealing the love of his mother in childhood to outbesting him during sword practice to Bojji being selected as the next king by their father. Just then, a man named Appius graces their presence. Appius was King Base's right hand when he was alive, and he made it his sole purpose to fulfill his master's will of making Bojji the next king by killing Daida. Just then, he is stopped by the mirror's voice, which is identified as Lady Miranjo. First of all, Miranjo hadn't always been in the mirror, but that's a story to tell another day. While she whispers some secret to Appius, Daida makes his move to strike back at him, which Miranjo quickly stops. Whatsoever she whispered to Appius seemed to do the trick. Suddenly his motive changes and he pleads to Daida for mercy. The moment Daida shows him mercy, Appius's eyes go cold and he renders Daida unconscious in a very painful way. Miranjo's plan comes together, and the elixir abandoned by Daida is extracted and fed to him even while he remains unconscious and tied to a chair. Now, this is the time Miranjo gives her villain speech of how birds fly. She reveals something else during her award-winning speech. Turns out Daida's thoughts about the elixir were right. The elixir has nothing to do with increasing his powers. Instead, it's something sinister to achieve her plan. The elixir is indeed one capable of resurrection, and Daida is the perfect vessel. When Miranjo recites the resurrection spell, something sinister swirls inside Daida. Back to the adventures of the roaming child and its pet, they've finally gotten to the town where Despa lives. Meeting him for the first time is an anxious thought that swirls the duo. What is he like? Is he anything like Desha? Their answers are revealed when Despa opens the door, revealing a... That aside, Despa totally meets my expectations. Not only does his physical appearance look classy, he's receptive, nice, and doesn't laugh at people's problems to their faces. Kage speaks on Bojji's behalf again, that they've arrived for Bojji to be under his apprenticeship. The recommendation letter doesn't make it in one piece though, thanks to Desha. Desha's ruthlessness is no news to Despa. They're brothers after all. Also, Despa has some clues as to why his brother is jealous of him. But the most outrageous of all remains this. He even goes further to explain that his brother was never wanted. Meanwhile, he's been famous right from childhood. From Despa's lashes, one could easily tell. Now back to the training memo, Despa makes it known that all it takes for a boy to become a king is courage. It's crazy he didn't say a crown. Moreover, it seems Despa's services don't come free. Nothing is free in Freetown. Kage offers him some coins from Bebin, but that is hardly enough to please Despa. In the end, Kage offers his life savings, rare stones he stole from Bojji's castle. The first order of training is to get settled in, but Despa opts to test his psychic powers on Bojji in his sacred room. According to him, He could see beyond what any human can see. Sadly, his finding ends futile for poor Bojji. Despa reveals that Bojji possesses no physical strength at all. For something to be enhanced, there has to be a starter cataract. In Bojji's case, if there's nothing to enhance, he can't become a heroic figure like King Base no matter how hard he trains. Kage tries to interfere, but there's no way Despa can increase something that's not there in the first place. This is the most heartbreaking news a young boy can ever hear. Almost as heartbreaking as when your favorite sneakers get sold out on the website. But despite this, Despa brings new hope to the hopeless lad with a hopeless hairline. He points out that Bojji might not have any strength, but he has potential. Moreover, he has already accepted payment. This alone brings a leap of joy to the boys as training commences the next day. Morning arrives pretty easy, and this makes me wonder, why are apprentices subjected to manual labor? This is more of child labor. Moreover, Despa is one huge stink. One would think Bojji knows what he's doing in the kitchen until the aroma hits the dreams of Despa and Kage from sleep. The only motivation for them is after seeing Bojji enjoy his handmade meal that looks like it was pooped from a unicorn. However, the consequences are dire and the other way for them. After surviving the dreadful moment of tasting Bojji's cooking, his training begins officially. Their first aim is to find out what weapon Bojji relates closely with. This leads them to a weapon room where every kind of weapon has been collected and preserved. Now, this is a moment of truth for Bojji. For someone who has zero strength, Despa reveals that only one weapon in this room is suitable for him, but it's up to Bojji to find it. After observing the likes of the sword, mallet, and axe, Bojji finally settles for the ideal weapon accepted by Despa. They train extensively for a week, but Despa's methods are rather inclusive. Well, that is because he trains Bojji in private. Even Kage is not allowed in the room. All Kage knows is that Bojji returns tired every day and has developed a rough palm from the training. That aside, Despa seems to be doing a pretty good job. On the other hand, we get to see Daida again. But this time around, King Base has possessed his body and accounts for this process by saying he has yet again sacrificed another son. At least we now know why he's got options. We're shown a backstory of Base before he attained power and when Marinjo wasn't stuck in a mirror. Base's ideal was simple: to be the strongest man in the world. Although the demon makes it known that he can't grant a power that he doesn't have, but he could steal it from a relative or his child. With that, the idea of being a doodle-diddle was born. At least now we know why Apius changed his mind after the mirror murmured to him, Marinjo aimed to resurrect his master, King Base. Let's believe Apius would be in on it. Moving on with the story, King Base had to find the strongest women in the world so they could create babies. The strongest woman is revealed to be a female giant who succumbed to his persuasion after Base proved he could be a dominant alpha. She conceives his child, however, every strength and power meant for the child is transferred into King Base's body. This makes him even more ruthless on the battlefield. But then again, the child is a puny one that is somewhat abominable for giants to birth. The child is revealed to be Bojji, and his mother loved him very, very much. Somewhat guilty of his thirst for power, King Base creates a kingdom with his power, and declares everything under his name to this newborn son. Now that is where we come back to reality. Base currently sits on the throne with Daida's body, which is now circulating with a power it has never felt before. But here comes the true test of greed. Was it enough power for Base? The only way to find out is through Marinjo's mirror. Mirror, mirror, who is the strongest person in the world? Is it the incantation that Base uses to summon the mirror's powers? However, the mirror's power reveals a person that amuses Daida. Not only that, it seems Boos in Daida's body is ready to eliminate Daida's mother, Queen Hyling. This simultaneously reaches the castle as Bojji's death is reported by Hokuro. Hyling breaks down at this news while Hokuro describes the events that happened when he regained consciousness. Domas and Hokuro obviously sustained injuries from their fight. Domas was being made handicapped. He seems to have realized his mistake and is visibly sorry for it. However, Hokuro is not ready to bury the hatchet. Even when Domus reveals that Prince Daida ordered the attack, Hokuro becomes even more furious. This is a win for Bojji though. The fact that someone stands up for him despite the agenda is crazy. Although Domus was not ready to report this and have his life over. Hokuro takes it upon himself and is judged by Queen Hyling, who orders his death by hanging. Presently, the execution is about to take place when Domus interrupts as a bandit while covering his face. He releases Hokuro and is about to get away with it when King Base in the form of Daida stops him. Domus immediately recognizes that Prince Daida is not the Daida in front of him. Every skilled fighter on the field immediately recognizes the bandit's moves, and voila, Domus is discovered. Just when Hyling is about to call for another execution, Daida reveals that Bojji is in fact well and alive. Just then, it is revealed that the person King Base saw in the mirror as the strongest in the land is Bojji. Goodness knows what Despa has turned the kid into. King Base and Daida's body cancels their executions, however, he relieves Domus of his duty and banishes him from the castle, not without some whispered words that no one figures out. Later on, we get to realize that Base revealed himself to Domus, and the reason he was relieved of his post is just so he could take the task of destroying the underworld gate that lies underneath the castle. Of course, this was on King Base's orders. Base goes further to reveal himself to Dorsha and Hyling, also whispering things to them. This suspicious activity makes Mira uncomfortable as she wonders what Base could be telling his people. That aside, the real Daida is revealed to be locked in a very dark and unreal space and has no idea how he escapes. This is the climax, guys, and all hell is about to break loose. Give it up for Despa's newest graduate from the School of Despa Arts. It is revealed that Bojji has completed his training and has mastered his very own weapon. What could Bojji's weapon be? Well, he has no strength, remember, so he wouldn't be able to carry anything heavy. He's short, so he wouldn't be able to carry anything long. One thing we're sure of is that the weapon can slice through a rock as seen earlier. If you have an idea of what Bojji's weapon is, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you guys on the next upload. Bye!